My name's Michael. I'm 41. I live in Austin, Texas. I've been married to Lauren for 5 years. She brought 2 kids into our home from her previous marriage, Cameron and Ellie. When I met them, they were already teenagers. That special age where everything's an eye roll or a slammed door. They were guarded, like animals from a broken cage, always watching, always comparing me to the ghost of a man who fathered them but never stayed. Their biological father, Todd, was a familiar myth in that house. The occasional text, the sudden Christmas appearance with a gift that was more show than soul, a few $100 and a fake smile, just enough to keep his name sacred. He existed only when it was convenient, and somehow that made him untouchable. I knew I wasn't here to replace him. I never tried to be their dad. I just did the things no one else was doing. I paid what needed paying. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas, their phone plans, dance classes, weekend trips. I showed up. I stayed. I waited. Quietly, like a man patching up the holes in someone else's house with his bare hands. Lauren said they just needed time. They've been hurt, she told me. It's not about you. So I believed her. I believed that patience would eventually earn me something. Not love. I'm not naive, but maybe acknowledgement. A thank you. A nod. A seat at the table that wasn't held together by money alone. I didn't press them. I didn't lay down rules or ask them to call me anything. I built my place in that house with silence and effort. I kept my name off the door, but my hands were in every inch of that home. Fixing things, funding things, being the invisible glue holding their lives steady. But cracks always show, even under paint. The signs were small at first. Ellie would skip dinner and say she wasn't hungry, until she ordered food 10 minutes later. Cameron never looked up when I asked how his day was. When I offered help, they declined. When I didn't offer, they complained. I was always too much or too little, depending on what was missing. Lauren saw it but didn't name it. She called it adolescence. She said I was taking things too personally. But how personal is it when they live off your labor and spit in your direction? Still, I stayed quiet. I paid. I drove them to appointments. I sat in the audience while they performed. I cleaned up after them when they didn't notice. I filled their tanks with gas while they slept. Then came the night everything cracked wide open. A Tuesday. Lauren made enchiladas. Ellie was scrolling her phone, ignoring the plate in front of her. Cameron was halfway through his meal, eyes glued to his screen, headphones around his neck. I asked about his grades. I had gotten an email from his teacher earlier that day. Another missed assignment. He didn't answer. I tried again, a little firmer. You're failing English, Cam. He didn't even look at me when he said it. You're just the guy Mom married. Stop pretending you're in charge. That was it. That sentence. Not yelled. Not dramatic. Just spoken like a final fact. Like he'd finally said what had been true all along. I didn't respond. I didn't get angry. I didn't even finish my food. I stood up, took my plate to the sink, rinsed it, dried my hands, walked to my office and closed the door behind me, sat down, opened my laptop, and I started cutting. No rage, no noise, just quiet efficiency. I went through the bills, canceled the family Netflix account, disabled their Spotify access, shut down the Uber Eats profile that fed them after midnight, deleted their names from the Amazon Prime account, paused Ellie's dance subscription, stopped the gas card payments, ended Cameron's car insurance. Then I logged out, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the wall. 16 years of financial planning. Hundreds of small conveniences now gone. They wouldn't notice until they needed them, but when they did, they'd notice all at once. I slept like a stone that night. The next morning, Cameron's Starbucks app declined his payment. Ellie's phone buzzed with a failed delivery notification. From the hallway, I heard her mutter, "What the hell?" I didn't answer. I was already in the garage working on my truck. The one thing in this house that belonged entirely to me. Lauren came down, confused. Ellie says the Wi-Fi cut out. Cameron's card isn't working. Did something happen? I wiped my hands on a rag, looked her in the eye. I'm not the boss. I'm not the dad. So I'm done being the bank. She blinked, as if trying to absorb what she'd heard. "What are you talking about?" I nodded toward the house. "Everything they use I pay for, and I'm done pretending I have authority without respect." I stopped paying for the illusion. She didn't say anything. Her mouth opened, then closed. She turned and walked back inside. That afternoon, the silence in the house had changed. It was heavier, thicker. You could hear the tension in the way the doors shut, in the whispers between the kids. Cameron finally approached me that evening. Knocked once, then hovered in the doorway. "Hey, can I get $20 for gas?" I didn't look up from the newspaper. "You're 18, I said. "Welcome to adulthood." He stood there for a few seconds, then walked away. Ellie tried next through Lauren. Asked for her mom's card, just this once. Lauren told her no. That was the first time I saw the wheels turning behind Lauren's eyes. The first time she realized that her children's comfort hadn't been her doing. That their ease, their independence, their daily indulgences, all of it had come from me. Quietly, without praise. That night, she sat at the edge of the bed while I brushed my teeth. "They're still young," she said, staring at the floor. "They don't understand what they're saying, or what you've done." I came back from the bathroom, sat down across from her. "No," I said. "They understand just fine. They've known for years they can say what they want and still live off my work. That ends now." She looked at me, not with anger, but something close to fear. Fear of what comes next when the man who's kept everything running decides to stop pretending he's part of the family. But she didn't argue. She didn't apologize. Because apologies only matter when they're spoken before the house starts falling. And this house? It was already burning. A week passed. The house was quieter, but not in the peaceful way. It was the quiet of something unraveling, like wind through a building that used to be full. No more midnight deliveries. No gas cards. No weekend Starbucks. Netflix gone. Spotify silenced. Subscriptions vanished without explanation. I didn't block them. I just stopped paying. Like a landlord finally done with tenants who never signed the lease. Cameron tried to pretend it didn't bother him. Walked around like the world was still intact. But I saw it in the small things. The way he rationed his phone battery. The frustration when apps stalled. The glances toward his car keys before realizing he didn't have gas to get far. Ellie was louder about it. She complained to Lauren, sulked in the kitchen, slammed the fridge when there was nothing fun to eat. She said things like, "This house sucks now," and "I don't feel like I live here." The irony wasn't lost on me. Lauren tried to make up for the tension. She offered rides, made more dinners, filled the silence with soft suggestions. "Let's try to reset," she said one night, pouring wine like it might oil the gears back to motion. "They're just figuring things out. You've been patient for so long. Don't let one moment undo all that." But it wasn't one moment. It was the moment that revealed all the others. I didn't yell. I didn't defend myself. I just told her the truth. "You get to choose, be their mom or a passive witness. But I'm done choosing for you." She didn't reply. That weekend, Cameron came home late again. Past the curfew that never mattered until now. The house was dark. I waited in the hallway. No noise. No tension. Just stillness. When he stepped inside, his shoes half-tied, hoodie half off, I stood there and held out my hand. "Keys." He laughed. Not cruelly, more like disbelief. "You can't take my car. My name's on every line. Down payment, registration, gas, insurance. You just drive it." He scoffed. "That's not how this works." I nodded once. "Okay." 30 minutes later, I had the tow truck scheduled. I didn't shout. I didn't threaten. I called a number, gave an address, paid the fee. When the truck showed up at 2 a.m., I handed them the spare keys. They took the car like they were hauling off dead weight. Quiet, efficient. By morning, it was gone. The storage lot held it. The insurance policy was canceled. The fuel card deactivated. It was no longer his car. Just a vehicle I didn't want to see in my driveway. Ellie screamed when she found out. "You're destroying the family." I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I opened the back door and walked into the yard. Let the shouting die behind glass and drywall. Let the wind carry it somewhere else. Somewhere I didn't live anymore. That night, Lauren cornered me in the kitchen. Her voice shook, but not from rage, from realization. You really called a tow truck? I did. You canceled everything? I did. They have school. They have lives. You can't just. I looked at her. I didn't kick them out. I just reestablished the boundary. I stopped pretending they saw me as something I'm not. They're young. No, they're old enough to drive. Old enough to vote. Old enough to tell me I'm not their father. That means they're old enough to live in the world they described. She didn't speak after that. The next day, I got a call from the bank. Someone tried to use the frozen card. Denied. Then a text from Ellie. Can you please turn the card back on just for this weekend? I didn't reply. Then another. You don't have to act like this. Just because we're not close doesn't mean we're enemies. Still nothing from me. Because this wasn't war. This was surrender mine. To reality. To the truth they'd spoken and the truth I now accepted. Later that week, Lauren sat me down again. She tried a softer approach. Her voice wasn't defensive anymore. It was tired. They're scared. So am I said. But fear doesn't mean we get to rewrite what we said. What do you want from them? Respect. Accountability. Maybe even gratitude. But I'm not holding my breath. She nodded slowly. They don't know what they're doing. Then let them learn. 3 days later, she left. Packed a small bag. Said she was going to stay with her sister. Just to clear the air, she said. Give things space. The kids went with her. No goodbye. Just a closed door and a driveway left quiet. I didn't text. I didn't call. I just sat in the living room. Lights dimmed. TV off. Listening to the creak of the house without them. The same walls. The same furniture. But now without the tension. Without the quiet resentment that used to hang like fog in every room. For 3 days I slept. Really slept. Not the kind of sleep you get with one eye open and a fist clenched. But deep, still sleep. Then an email arrived. A utility transfer request. Lauren trying to put the water bill in her name. I denied it. Then came another, the electric bill. Again denied. I checked our marriage license. There wasn't one. We had lived like husband and wife, shared accounts, made joint decisions. But we had never signed that final paper. Maybe I thought it didn't matter. Maybe I thought it was symbolic. But now it was the line that saved me. The house? Mine. The accounts? Mine. The car Cameron drove? Still mine. The insurance, the plans, the furniture, every stitch of domestic life they lived in had been built on my back. And when they left with none of it. I called my lawyer that afternoon. I want to end this cohabitation. We set a plan. We filed the papers. No drama. No noise. Just steps taken quietly toward something firm. A week passed. Then they returned. Knock. Ring. I opened the door. Lauren stood there. Cameron beside her. Ellie in the car, staring at her phone. Lauren's face was pale. You're really ending this over one mistake? I didn't raise my voice. I'm not ending anything. I'm taking back what's mine. And I'm done paying for people who don't respect me. She looked like she wanted to cry, or shout, or plead, but she did none of it. I shut the door. Quietly. 2 months later, Ellie texted me. Simple words. We didn't realize how good we had it. I'm sorry. We were wrong. I stared at it for a long time. Typed back. I hope you learn what respect feels like. But I'm no longer the one to teach you. A week later, Cameron wrote, I was a jerk. I get it now. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty. Out of clarity. Some apologies come too late. And some bridges, better left burned. Sometimes, they're the only thing that keeps you from walking back into the fire. They didn't come back the way they left. Not this time. When Lauren pulled into the driveway 2 weeks later, it was just her. No kids. No noise. She knocked once, softer than before. I let the door stay closed for a while. Just watched her through the curtain. Not out of spite. just to see if she'd wait. She did. I opened it. "I need to talk," she said. I stepped aside. She didn't sit. Just stood there in the hallway, her purse still on her shoulder like she wasn't sure she was staying. "I made a mistake," she said. I didn't answer. She looked older. Her eyes had lost that polished, effortless calm she used to wear like perfume. Her hands trembled slightly when she reached into her purse and pulled out a small stack of papers. "These came," she said. "Tuition balances. Missed rent for Ellie's place near campus. Utility notices. Credit card bills in my name. Things I didn't even know they'd opened." She placed them on the counter. "I didn't touch them. I didn't realize how much of it you were covering." I nodded. Not in agreement. Just acknowledgement. "They said you were being cruel," she continued. "That you just snapped. But then I saw everything. The accounts. The names. The charges. All the things you paid for. Every month. Every year." Still, I didn't speak. "I let them use you," she said. "That got my attention." She looked down. "I didn't do it on purpose. But I did it. I let them ignore you. I let them disrespect you. I let it happen because I thought it was easier than forcing them to see what was real." I poured myself a cup of coffee. Offered her none. She didn't ask. "They're scared now. Cameron's working nights to cover his rent. Ellie's dropped out of her dance program. Todd hasn't returned their calls. He sent Cameron $100 and said he was tight right now. Ellie hasn't heard from him since August." I let the silence stretch. Let her sit in the weight of what she'd said. "I'm not asking for help," she added quickly. I needed you to know that I know. That I see it now." I took a sip, then finally spoke. "You came to tell me the house is on fire. I already saw the smoke." She winced. "I thought we were a family," she whispered. "We were a transaction," I said. "One I kept funding. And now the bill came due." She looked around the house. At the photos still on the wall, the chair Cameron broke when he was 16, the blanket Ellie used to steal from the couch. They were still here, like museum exhibits from a life that had quietly ended. "They miss you," she said. "No, they miss what I gave them." I leaned against the counter. I was never dad. I was just the Wi-Fi password, the Uber account, the gas card, the guy who showed up but never got a seat at the table. They were kids. They were adults when they told me I was nothing. She flinched, because she remembered, because she had sat there while Cameron said it. "I'm not asking you to forgive them," she said. "I just wanted you to know. They regret it." I shook my head slowly. Regret is what you feel when consequences show up. It's not the same as respect. She sat down then, finally, on the edge of the couch. "You still love them?" I didn't answer right away, because love in its realest form doesn't die, it calcifies. It becomes something heavier, something that can't be lifted anymore. "I loved the version of them that I believed existed," I said. She started crying. Quietly. No drama. Just soft, helpless tears. Like she was finally mourning something that never really lived. I didn't comfort her. That night she didn't stay. She left around 9. No goodbye hug. No kiss. Just a tired woman with no home to return to that didn't feel like a lie. The next morning Cameron came. Not with shouting. Not with a tantrum. He pulled up in an old Civic with a cracked windshield and a dent in the side. He looked thinner. His clothes hung off him like he'd lost 10 pounds in a week. He didn't come to the door. Just sat on the porch with his head in his hands. I let him stay there for a while. Watched through the window. Then finally stepped out. "Did Mom tell you I was coming?" he asked. "No. She told me you were working nights." He nodded. "Gas station. 3rd shift." I waited. "I came to say I get it now." Still, I waited. "You were always there. I didn't see it. I thought you were trying to replace Dad. But he's never been there. Not really." I sat down on the opposite side of the step. "I said some terrible things," he admitted. "Things I thought would make me feel powerful. Instead, they made me powerless." Silence. "I'm not asking for money," he added. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Not because things are hard, but because I finally saw the truth. I looked at him, saw the bags under his eyes, the bruises on his pride. I appreciate that, I said. He nodded, then stood, wiped his hands on his jeans, walked to the car, drove off. No hug, no promises, just a broken apology delivered to a man who stopped needing it. A few days later, Ellie called. "Don't hang up," she said quickly. I stayed on the line. "I was mean to you," she said. "I thought you were trying to buy us. But now I see you were trying to build something. And we didn't want it." I let her speak. "I missed the stability," she said. "But more than that, I missed the version of myself that existed when you were in our lives. I felt safe. And I didn't even know it." She didn't cry. She just spoke. Clearly. Quietly. Then she said goodbye. I hung up and sat in the silence. There was no joy. No vindication. Just confirmation. Everything I had feared was true. And I was right to leave. Life after them wasn't a victory. It wasn't revenge. It was recovery. For the first few weeks, I didn't know what to do with the quiet. No footsteps upstairs. No music through the walls. No half-hearted greetings or slammed cabinet doors. Just silence. Honest, brutal silence. I painted the living room. Something darker. Something mine. Covered the marks where their furniture had scuffed the walls, where posters used to hang. I patched the hole from Cameron's old dartboard. Hung up a few old photographs, black and white shots from before I ever met Lauren. I realized how many pieces of myself I had stored away just to keep the peace. I replaced the recliner Cameron broke during a tantrum 2 years ago. Bought a new one, leather, firm, solid. It didn't groan when I sat down. It didn't carry the weight of arguments. For the first time in 5 years, I ate dinner in peace. I made exactly what I wanted. No complaints. No eye rolls. No last-minute pizza deliveries showing up just as I was cleaning up the table. Just me, a fork, and silence. I thought maybe loneliness would creep in. But it didn't. What came instead was clarity, and something sharper, dignity. I checked my finances a month later. Thousands saved already. No Uber Eats for Ellie. No gas cards for Cameron. No endless emergency texts. My credit score jumped 30 points. My savings account started breathing again. One Saturday, I slept until 10. No knocking. No noise. Just sunlight spilling across clean floors. I started journaling again. Something I hadn't done since before Lauren. I filled pages with things I didn't know I'd been holding. Memories, thoughts, moments I had swallowed to keep the illusion alive. One entry just read, "You gave them everything, and they gave you silence." That sentence haunted me. I didn't block them. I didn't erase their numbers. I just stopped waiting for messages that weren't coming. Cameron texted once more, "Hope you're doing okay. I think about you a lot." I didn't respond. Not out of hate, but because he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to the version of me he thought might still pick up the pieces. That man was gone. Ellie tagged me in an old photo on social media, her 16th birthday. The one where I rented the skating rink. The caption read, "Didn't realize this was the last time we felt like a real family." I didn't click like. I didn't share it. I just stared at it until the ache in my chest passed. Then I unfollowed her. It wasn't about punishment. It was about preservation. I had been bleeding for people who would never notice the wound until the bandage disappeared. 6 months later, I met someone. Her name was Haley. She ran a design shop downtown. Never married. No kids. She had built her life brick by brick, the way I used to before I became a shadow in my own house. We met at a bookstore. She saw me staring at a photography exhibit catalog and said, "I was just about to buy that." I handed it to her without hesitation. We laughed. That night we had dinner. Nothing fancy. A little Italian place on the east side. Over pasta and wine, she told me, "I believe in shared weight. If we build something, it's both our names on it." I nearly cried. Not because I needed love, but because I needed recognition. We've taken it slow. No rushing. No illusions. She's seen the lines in my face, the quiet pauses when I speak about the past. She doesn't ask for more than I'm willing to give. She doesn't flinch when I say things like, I used to carry a family that never saw me. Instead, she just nods. Some people only love you as long as you serve a purpose. Exactly. I visit new places now. I've taken up hiking. I joined a photography group. I've started cooking for friends. Real friends, the kind who bring wine without asking, who wash dishes without being told, who don't look at me like I'm a stranger in my own home. Sometimes, I sit on the back porch at sunset and just breathe. No demands. No shadows. Just the weight of a life that finally belongs to me again. Lauren called once. I let it ring out. She didn't leave a message. Maybe she was calling to say they missed me. Maybe to say the kids were doing better. Or worse. Maybe she wanted to ask for help. Or maybe she wanted to apologize. But here's the truth. It doesn't matter anymore. Apologies don't rewrite the story. They just end the chapter. I've already closed the book. Some nights, when the wind cuts through the trees just right, I remember the sounds of that house. Ellie's laughter, Cameron's footsteps, Lauren's soft humming in the kitchen. I remember what it felt like to believe in something that was already broken. And then I remember what Cameron said. You're just the guy Mom married. Stop pretending you're in charge. And I smile, because I stopped pretending. I stopped financing my own rejection. Stopped paying for people who used my silence as currency. And I bought back what was mine all along. Peace, dignity, and myself. So I'll leave you with this. If you were told you were nothing, not a father, not a partner, not even a voice worth hearing, would you still keep giving? Would you still stay? Or would you do what I did? Would you finally listen? Would you walk away?